You do not know when the Son of Man will come. Be prepared for the time when the Son of Man will arrive. All of us recognize in our lives we have had dramatic moments of change, unexpected events that have altered the course, the way we live our lives. 9/11 was one of those days in our country, but indeed throughout the world. No one, I think, who saw those events or read about them could have ever imagined how that has changed forever the way we live our lives. It's changed the way we go to airports, the way we pack our luggage. It's changed the way we go to sporting events or walk through metal detectors at the most unexpected places. It has forever changed the way we look at the world and other people in the world. An event can be a life-changing moment for the world, for our country, for us as individuals. And more importantly, in our own personal lives, we have always faced those moments. In fact, there are some who say, really, there's only two kinds of days, those days that unfold as we had hoped or planned, and those days that bring about them unexpected change or challenge. In our own lives, sometimes that challenge or change comes about when someone we love or someone we know within friendship or family suddenly is in an automobile accident, and their life is altered and so does ours. Or maybe it is someone in our life, someone whom we've cared for, someone who's companioned us, someone who's loved us, has suddenly decided they no longer want to journey with us. Or maybe it is that you and I have discovered in our lives something that has changed in our health. The diagnosis comes back and it is positive, and now we look at our lives with a lot more fragility and vulnerability. Those are life-altering moments, life-changing times, and they come usually without any warning. They come upon us. How are we to live with those? How are we to adjust? How are we to listen to that gospel that says, be ready, be prepared for the day of the Lord's coming? That is really too difficult. How do I prepare for the unknown? How do I get ready for something I don't know what it is going to be? But that's an important question, isn't it? Be ready for the day of the Lord, because all of us know there are moments of change and challenge. We know we will face them, different and greater degrees in the different moments, seasons of our lives. How do you do it? Well, maybe perhaps a story from a woman whose name is Irene. Irene is now in her mid to late 60s, doing very good work, active within her church community. She is active with her friends, her children now grown, and they have children of their own. And she is a very loving woman with a lot of friends. But then suddenly, in an accident, a freak accident, she hurts her back and she is now confined to a wheelchair. Although not a fatal diagnosis, it is a permanent reality. She will be in this wheelchair. But she continues. She continues to be active within her community and church, continues to be engaged with her friendships and her family. So it is one night when she is at the church for a particular meeting that one of her friends, Karen, asks her. Karen says, Irene, how is it you remain so positive? I don't think I could have done it. I don't think I could have gone through that and still remain as positive, engaged, and sure of life as you are. How is it? Karen was taken aback at how quickly Irene had responded. Surely she must have worked this through in her own thoughts and prayers. For she says to Karen, oh, it's all about fairness. Fairness, Karen asks. Fairness? How can you mean fairness? Well, Irene says to her, well, I just began to adopt the new way. She said, oh, there are tough days and there are struggles and there are times when I want to give in to self-pity. But I keep going back to fairness. So Karen asked her more about it, and Irene said, well, when I met my husband and we were married, and he has been my hope and my rock more so now than ever. She said, I didn't ask God, why did you send him into my life? I was grateful for the gift he was and continues to be throughout my life. And then when my children were born and they were fine and healthy and they went through the perilous waters of adolescence and young adult life and now are parents themselves, I didn't look at God and said, why such a blessing? I don't want this. I was grateful for the blessing they were and continue to be in my life. And then with all those friends who have been with me since I was a child, and friends who have joined me on the latter part of my journey, for they have opened worlds to me and been of support and comfort to me, helping me celebrate great joy, comfort me in sorrow. I didn't say to the Lord, why did you send me these? I just saw them as the blessing they turned out to be. So you see, she said to Karen, it's about fairness. I began to look at my life and see there is much more good than bad. And so I began to develop in myself that sense of fairness and gratitude. You see, the gratitude for all the good helped me endure the rest. The gratitude for all I had been given, the blessings I had received, and what I held in my hand helped me endure all the other things. Yes, she told Karen, I've learned more about fairness, and that's allowed me to have faith and trust. I don't surrender to the self-pity that sometimes wells up. I don't give in to the lack of trust and fear that might overcome me and the challenge I face. I just am grateful, and that is enough to help me get through the other times. Now that's a good insight, isn't it? Fairness. It's really seeing my life not as a snapshot, but as a portrait, a whole picture, not just as a little snippet, but as an entire view of what's going on in my life. I have to be honest, I don't know if I, facing that, would have the same ability as did Irene, but it is a good challenge for us to see the good and the bad in our lives and to recognize the gratitude will help me celebrate the good and endure the rest. That's what I think the Lord is trying to tell us in the gospel. Be ready for the day of the Lord. But how do you get ready? It is by looking at the whole life I have, by being appreciative for the blessings I have in my hand today, and by developing an attitude of seeing that it is in gratitude and in fairness that I give praise to God. And in that praise, recognize trust. In that gratitude, recognize my hope. And in all of that, know that if I am grateful for all the good, it will be enough to see me through the rest.